Welcome to another episode of La Ventanita, the Miami Herald's food podcast. I am the Miami Herald's food editor, Carlos Frias, and over there is Amy Reyes.
Hello, Carlos. Hello, everybody. Our
Wow,
dozens of live watchers.
dozens,
We love you all.
the many ones of watchers. We're gonna get into the tens soon. I promise. I feel it.
One day.
Are we gonna get into the tens? I don't think so.
No, one day, one day.
I think we're just gonna have to be happy here with what we have.
With our core squad.
All right, cool. The OG 11, baby. Oh, so what do we got going on, Tame? What's going on with you?
I'm gonna need for you to talk to me about what happened at La Placita, or what's happening at La Placita, the Puerto
Bro,
Rican restaurant.
talk
Jose
about
Mendine's place.
talk about out like a lamb. So do we need to recap it a little bit? Should we
Yeah,
recap it a little bit
start from the beginning.
from the bits at beginning? All right. I mean, I think most folks have been kind of following along with this a little bit, those that care about it. So, like the last week of 2018, I'm going for a walk and I get a text that Jose Mendine's new restaurant La Placita, it's a Puerto Rican restaurant in Mimo, has opened and it's painted. They've painted this enormous mural covering the entire four-story building, and it's a mural of the Puerto Rican flag, and that there are people who are upset about it. And from that day, my life has never been the same. I've been chasing that. I have been just following that
You've
dumb
been
thing
following that
forever.
story forever.
Well, so what happened is that neighborhood, that stretch happens to be the only historic business district in all of Miami. Like
Hmm.
there's historical designations for different parts of Miami. That's the only business district. And apparently you had to apply for special permit to for anything you want to do there. Like if you live in Coral Gables, you want to paint your
You
house.
want to paint it pink? You got to ask.
Yes, even if you pick their colors, you gotta ask, and everything's gotta be approved. So apparently, murals are not even allowed in that district, and they applied for some kind of. It was confusing. They applied for some kind of permit to do an event, but they didn't apply for the permit to paint that in that way. And ever since then, it's been the neighborhood residents, because, the neighborhood residents moved there for a reason. They want their stuff to look the way
A
that they
certain way,
want it to
yeah.
look.
Hmm.
And they said that is not what they're down for. And they have been coming after the owners, Jose Mendin, who's a 5 times James Beard Award nominee, and Julian Gil, or is it Gil?
Hill.
Gil.
Julian Hill.
So who's a Spanish language actor who helped bankroll the thing. And and just people were salty, and yet at the same time, like the Puerto Rican community in Miami, smaller as it is, like
They were really into it.
they were into it. Selfies every day, like that. Honestly, did so much for publicity for that restaurant. But the city has been fining them. At one point, they had like racked up something like $60,000 in fines,
Hmm.
that I think were eventually forgiven. But anyway, the whole thing turned out that
Yeah,
now
and
the
in the
restaurant's gonna
meantime,
close.
the restaurant was popping and it was loud and it was like, yeah, it was a fun place to go and it's literally like on the street that some people drive in to go to their homes.
Right.
And so people were kind of mad that it was popping too and it was making noise and like it was a little bit too much alegría.
Yeah, but you know what's annoying is that they were like, "This restaurant's so loud." The restaurant that was there before, Balance,
Equally
and
loud,
they complained about that
equally
too.
loud, yeah.
It's like, listen, you live one block from a main street. I live 3 blocks from Cayocho. If I lived one block from I wouldn't live one block from
Yeah,
Cayocho
yeah.
because it's loud.
You would know better.
I would know better. And if
Hmm.
not, you make compromises to live there. And I don't know. I don't know what people want. They wanted it both ways.
Yeah.
So I mean, after the long and short of it, the restaurant's gonna close. And so I assume the mural's gonna go away, and it's kind of like out like a lamb. It goes out with a whimper, unfortunately.
Does he have plans to reopen the restaurant? Is it the location or what do you think is going on there?
He says that he wants to reopen it, but I found something kind of interesting. Like even Puerto Rican people who frequented the restaurant, a lot of them wanted, or a lot of the ones that were commenting online wanted traditional Puerto Rican food.
Hmm.
and
Not a
he's
take
not a
on Puerto Rico.
and
Yeah, not
he's not about
elevated.
that. And he's Puerto Rican. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was born and raised in Puerto Rico, but he became a chef in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to do his own thing, like at Pub Belly and Pub Belly Sushi. He crosses lines. He adds Asian. He does tapa style. Like
Mm-hmm.
he does his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if people. I don't know what kind of reception they would have gotten if it wasn't for that mural.
Right.
Now,
Well,
and you know what I thought? I thought, all right, they painted this mural. They say it cost them 25 grand. I mean, what is a full page ad in the Miami Herald cost? It's got to be less than 25 grand. I mean, it's got to be more than 25 grand.
yeah, but that's like a stand. That's like a billboard. That you
And
can't even compare it.
huge
It's
billboard.
a
You know what?
billboard.
Leave it up. I honestly thought they would leave it up for until the people complained. They got so much publicity. I thought they would paint it over and the restaurant would just keep going.
Well, you know what? Maybe what it was is that the maybe the fines were stood. Maybe they still had to pay off the fines, and
Maybe.
that kind of tanked it.
Maybe I called them and they wouldn't talk about it because I think there's still like legal wrangling to be done.
Hmm.
So Jose didn't want to get into it. I never heard back from Julian Gil. So we'll see what happens next. But it's a
Anyway,
shame because I will say I get both sides. I get people that live in the community and they're like, we established, because I mean people forget that stretch of Mimo, and I mean some places in that Mimo is still pretty janky, like,
hmm
but they were all like, rent by the hour hooker motels. Like
hmm
that's literally what that was. It was just like very sketchy. Um, and Mimo is not like that anymore. And part of the
yeah, it's
reason
nice.
is, yeah, they made that designation and they made it nice. Although there's still plenty of like beat up buildings there, but there's lots of nice ones too. So I mean, I get them and I get the other side too. That like they put this mural up and a lot of people came for it and they took pictures and you highlight an area of town.
Yeah, and then I just want to get to my house, so get your dumb cars out my way.
Is there
That's
Yeah, is there a case where everybody's wrong? Like maybe
yeah.
that's the case.
Well, there's a case where everybody's annoyed, probably.
Yeah, I think that's what we hit here. We hit peak annoyance.
Well, Carlos, you need to tell us now about the Michelin Guide, Florida's Michelin Guide. It's coming at us very soon. And I think you need to tell us like when we're gonna find out, and you need to tell us like what's the criteria, because I'm very curious to know like what's the criteria, because it sounds very fancy, and I know Miami has a lot of fancy restaurants, but I feel like in our today's guest is one of those people that can speak on this a lot, but I feel like Miami has a lot more places that are good, just good places to eat, but not necessarily fancy.
Yeah,
So
I
like,
think so. Yeah, so like the Michelin Guide, Miami's going to get the Michelin Guide. It's only the fifth area in the United States that's going to have a Michelin Guide in the U.S. And the first announced restaurants are going to be June 9th at 6:30 p.m. They're going to do like a big thing at an Orlando hotel. And basically the whole thing came about because the state's tourism agency, it's called Visit Florida, basically went to Michelin and was like, we will offset your costs. We will pay you $150,000 a year with like kind of a gentleman's agreement that it would be 3 years to come and review restaurants in Florida. And then each of the state agencies, like each of the city tourism agencies, so like there's one for Miami called the GMCVB, the Greater Miami Visitors and Convention Bureau. There's one in Orlando and there's one in Tampa. Each of them
coughed up some bucks too.
coughed up some money. So when you add up the whole thing over the course of 3 years, it's like $1.5 million.
Okay. Do you think it's going to help Miami? Do you think it's going to make us feel fancier?
I do actually think that it's gonna raise the profile of some places. Now, I mean, if you think about it, $1.5 million in the grand scheme of things to promote your restaurants in your whole state for 3 years is kind of
it's a
like,
bargain.
yeah, I've seen state money wasted on a lot
They
worse
spend
things
it on
than that.
dumber stuff.
Yeah.
But listen to this, Carlos. So the restaurants, they don't base the awards on service, is what I read. So it says restaurant inspectors do not look at the interior decor, table setting, and or service quality when awarding stars.
That's
These are
interesting.
instead indicated by the number of covers it receives. And I'm sure nobody cares about covers. People only care about stars because I have never heard anybody said, I have 3 Michelin covers.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either. But I bet you, because they're not awarding for service, Miami is going to get lots and lots of stars.
Miami just slicked back its eyebrows on that one, and I went, "Oh yeah, no service." Oh, yeah.
We don't care.
We don't.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, no. That's it. I think I honestly didn't know that about that because it's been one of these things where it's their process has been a little bit shadowy, and they have become more transparent over the years. So I guess we're gonna find out. We're gonna have to wait for the first round to see what restaurants they are interested in.
Okay,
know?
so name 3 restaurants in Miami. Just name 3 off the top of your head.
Chick-fil-A and Kendall? No.
Aparte de eso, besides the Chick-fil-A and Kendall, name 3 Miami restaurants that you think, in your Carlos Frias estimation, may receive, even if it's just 1 star. You don't have to tell me the number. Just give me 3.
I think Stubborn Seed on Miami Beach will get one. Jeremy Ford has a great restaurant there, and he's got a great national following, and he's a Jacksonville guy. Michael Beltran, I think at Ariete has a good chance of he's a local guy as well. And I think Itame, the Peruvian Nikkei place that Jose Andres was raving about when he came into town, I think those 3 places have a legitimate shot. Now, I think that like other national places, like Joe Robuchon, the late Joe Robuchon has actually 2 restaurants here, Les Jardiniers and one that's a Robuchon. I think both of those will get attention because they have his name attached. Oh, I think the Surf Club, which is a Thomas Keller restaurant, will get attention, and I think that
I really think you're missing one though.
Macarena?
You're missing a Kendall a Kendall star, which is Guy, obviously.
Of course,
Guy deserves all the stars.
I think Guy will get some stars. The Chick-fil-A, maybe no stars for the Chick-fil-A at in Kendall.
No, the Kendall one's not any better than any other Chick-fil-A.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Because the lines at the Kendall
line
one
is long. That is a good sign.
Seem to indicate otherwise. No, but I think those places have a good shot. Like I think if you're gonna give stars, and Miami is in the mix, I think all those places deserve to get some attention. And we'll see which other ones, because it's not just stars. There's something called Bib Gourmand, which they give. It's kind of like a little honorable mention. Like, these places serve good food, and I think that they have it's something like $40 for less. Like, it's kind of like a Rachel Ray. You can eat there for $40 or less.
That's the part of the Michelin guide that I would probably be the most interested in.
Yeah, I'm really curious, all those things, and see how they pick. But we'll find out. We'll find out the day where I am not here. I'll be in Chicago, so Connie will be reporting on that.
He'll be sitting there hanging out with all of the food journalists of the world at the James Beard Awards.
I'll be getting ready to, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. You know what? I'm just happy to have some time off after having to miss my luxurious vacation the last time we met.
I'm so sorry. I gave you this Kendall variant.
Bro, the Kendall variant is strong.
It is strong.
Because I think
it is strong. Let's hope we don't give it to our guests, because I really think that it might actually exist in this space right here, and it just kind of marinates.
Yeah, I think he's already got it. So
yeah, he probably already got it.
So let's introduce him before his symptoms get too bad. So our guest today is Sef Gonzalez. Sef is the original Miami food blogger. So as the Burger Beast, he's been reviewing burgers and comfort food restaurants inside and outside of Miami since 2008. He's become Miami's advocate for the everyman diner. His Burger Beast approved stickers adorn many of Miami-Dade County's beloved institutions, but no fancy places by design. He's an author. Surprise, he's written a book about burgers. He started a dearly departed burger museum. He bottles his own burger sauces. He recently became a bona fide restaurant owner of Crackers Southern Dining in Miami Springs. Actually bought a place that's been around for about 10 years. He's a man of many talents. Just don't ask him to put lettuce and tomatoes on his burgers. So welcome to La Bestia.
Burger Beast.
Míralo. Qué
Hey,
lindo.
hey everybody.
Qué lindo está.
Vite.
Está bello.
Actually, my
Where,
mop is getting big.
Óyeme, yeah, because some of the photos that we had of you, you were pelao a rape. You had a buzz cut.
Yeah.
What happened then?
That was I started cutting my hair like that in the summers, and during the pandemic, I just decided to let my hair keep growing out.
You had some flowing locks during the pandemic. You had some
Yeah.
Prince Valiant hair for a minute there.
Yeah, well, many years ago, I dressed up for Halloween as a samurai, so I spent the whole year growing my hair out so I could put it up in a bun. And then I was telling my wife, yeah, I should probably
Some
do that
dedication.
again. And my wife's like, no, you're cutting that.
Wow.
God.
The samurai, bro, that is, you went hard for that.
Toshiro Mifune, man, love that guy.
Who is that?
Wait,
I don't know what that
Sefs,
is.
Well,
What is a Toshiro
IMDb.
Mifune?
IMDb. Look him up. He was even on the Love Boat. All right? For whoever knows what the Love Boat is.
The Love Boat.
No,
Soon
no.
we'll be making
No.
another
Make
run.
it stop. Make it stop.
Okay.
Wait, Steph. So now that we're getting a Michelin guide, we have to discuss. Like, do you think the Burger Beast stamp of approval will continue to supersede the Michelin guide for Miami diners? Because I think it might. I think.
Isn't Michelin a tire company?
It
And
is.
Burger
What if-
Beast is a guy who talks about burgers. So
That's right. That's right. Who-
I don't even know if the Michelin guide is an actual guide. I just hear people say they have Michelin stars. It's not really something I pay attention to be quite honest.
I'm curious about that. You never went down for the quote unquote foodie movement, which God bless you, because I'm sick of that word already. I think we've all you were always about mom and pop places and places that were accessible. And where did that come from, do you think? Like, why was that interesting to you and not things that were confit and served under a demi-glace and au jus?
I just didn't grow up in eating in that world. My family moved, like many folks, from Cuba to New York, and then from New York to Miami in the 70s. And we grew up eating in the suburbs. I mean, those kind of places don't exist in Westchester, where I'm from, or in Kendall and Hialeah and Miami Springs, all the places I frequented as a kid. And so I was never, I guess, exposed to it. I'm not opposed to going to eat there. It's not something that particularly interests me. I'm more interested in helping out local mom and pop shops and helping get the word out.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that that when you were a kid, like it didn't matter what restaurant you went to, you were always ordering the burger on the menu, no matter where it was.
That is very true. So even to this day, if we go to a restaurant and there's only a burger on the kids menu, my family's like, "You better not." I'm like, "I am." I'm like, "Why is this only on the kids menu? It could be some hidden treat no one knows about."
Is it ever a hidden treat, or is it always? Sorry, Amy.
No.
It's always a kid's burger.
It's always a burger, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's Crackers is a restaurant that I co-own is a great example. Where on the kids menu, there's sliders that they're really good, and no one. I mean, we don't sell any of them. Maybe now we might because I mentioned it, but as far as like legit sliders, they're like smashed little patties.
So you started your blog like in 2008. Like what moment was it when you were like, wow, my blog is actually having an impact? Like, was there one place that you visited where you got so much feedback that you were like, wow, people actually read this and the owners were super into it? Like, where was that like moment, the tipping point for the blog?
I think that the owners kind of being into it didn't really happen until maybe about a year. So you're talking maybe like the summer of 2009. I was kind of taken aback initially because it was just an outlet for me. I was in retail management. I wasn't happy. And my wife's like, "Oh, you should just write about the burger joints you liked." And she actually coined the term, or not coined, but suggested I call it Burger Beast because I wanted to call it, "Now That's a Tasty Burger," since I love Pulp Fiction. And so we ended up going, and it's only because no, that's a tastyburger.com was taken. I'm not gonna lie.
It's owned by Samuel Jackson.
So luckily, Burger Beast was available, and I think at that point also we were kind of like making the switch from MySpace to Facebook. So I remember I had just shut down my MySpace. I'm like, oh my God, I had all these people following me on MySpace that could have been, reading Burger Beast. But when the commentary, and I was on the Blogger platform, and now I'm on WordPress, when people start commenting that I don't know, that's when I was like, oh, wow, there's people who I don't even know just making commentary and suggesting places. And the first part of the year, I had a page where you could just suggest places for me to go, because burger-wise, Miami was... You didn't go to some chain. You were probably talking like Keg South or Duffy's on 57th. We weren't really known for burgers. Fritas, yes. Fritas is a whole other, world, the Cuban hamburger. But that was not something that was there. And I think it also happened, my blog happened to coincide with the explosion of popularity of burgers again. And I happened to be in the right place at that right time to be writing it. And the blog was only supposed to be about burgers. But because there were so few I could write about, I decided I would write about fritas. And then I wrote about croquetas. And then, all the stuff I grew up eating as a kid. And it connected with people because no one at the time was doing that.
Well, now we have such good burger culture that we almost always win Burger Bash at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. Like, Carlos, the last, 3 years that you've covered it, we've won almost both categories, like every single year.
Yeah, it's been local guys represented in some way, in some form, and you know what? They've been doing a better job too, I think, of highlighting local people, which I think is a credit to them.
When Pincho, who was the first local to win, I remember the year before. I believe they participated 1 year before, and then they won the following year. But I remember telling Nadal, who happens to be my business partner in Crackers, I remember telling him, you're never going to win Burger Bash. It's impossible because the celebrities are getting all the votes because they're luring people to snap pictures. And that happened to be a year I was not there, of course. They win on the year. But I was ecstatic for them. And then that we saw a possibility. And then I think it was the year after, Jersey Dog, who was a food truck, won the judges. And then I was like, now, all rules are off. I mean, the food truck just went from Miami, so... and I think a lot less celebrities have been participating because you really kind of see through their game. A lot of them are just putting out some mediocre stuff at the events. Right. And the local people, the local pride comes through when we have, a bunch of Miami people there, and they were like, I want to vote for someone from Miami.
You were talking about how you got your start, and I want to step back one step and reference the room that you're in. You're a collector of interesting horror movie oddities and whatever, and you used to have a horror movie rental store, like very specific.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it was called Oh the Horror.
Oh my goodness.
In the middle of Westchester on 95th and Bird.
Oh, Westchester. I thought it was in Agua Dulce. I thought it was in Sweetwater.
No,
but it was in Westchester.
No, it was in Westchester. There's a print shop there now. That used to be the location of my grandfather's print shop, not the one that was referenced in the story. Yeah, I had two, my maternal grandfather owned a print shop. My dad's dad was a professional wrestler. And so
I know, like record scratch. Your dad's dad was a professional lucha libre wrestler.
Right. Yeah. It's called, the style back then was called catch as catch can, which is a particular. That's it. That's the man right there. Cruz Diablo.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, is that him? Is that a picture of his face?
No. It's actually the poster. It's a little lower. I guess it's just not coming up, but you can actually see that's when he passed away in '69. Unfortunately, when my dad and him moved to the United States, he got cancer, and he didn't even last 3 months in New York.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, he was a professional wrestler. He made his name. He wrestled in Cuba. He wrestled a lot of Latin American countries, but he made his name in Venezuela. There's an article out there that you can read about him being more popular than the president of Venezuela at the time. And
that's probably still true. That's probably
what was his wrestling name again? I'm sorry.
Cruz Diablo.
Cruz Diablo. Okay.
That's a good name.
That is a good name.
Cruz
We
I feel
Diablo.
intimidated.
We still have his, he was only allowed to leave the country with one set of gear. So we do have a mask and his jacket and his boots and his tights. There
Oh
you go.
wow, look at that.
Wow.
That is
And the
really
colors
cool.
just so very bright. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's,
Papo, you gotta dress up like Cruz Diablo one year for
Yeah, for
Halloween.
sure. You
If
don't have
I
to grow
tried
your hair
putting
out
on
for
that
that.
outfit, it would be like the Hulk, becoming the Hulk. I mean, I would like rip right through that stuff.
Bro,
But
get a custom tailored one,
You
bro.
gotta
That would be
scale it up a
tight.
little bit.
That would be tight. You
in
should do
2000, in 2014, I wanted to use the name, and I did a one-time only. This is prior to the donuts explosion in Miami. I did Cruz Diablo donuts, and I had a couple really cool donuts. I won't go into because I still want to use.
that. All right, look at you.
But during how we got to crackers, how Nadal and I got to crackers, and I don't know if I'm just jumping all over the place. Was that
That's okay. We're just talking, dude.
It's fine.
There's no routine.
We were trying. Nadal and I were trying to figure out something to do after his life at Pincho Factory, Pincho as they're known now.
Right.
And he said, "How about I help you?"
DTF? They dropped the factory.
Yeah.
That's the press release we got from Pincho. Is they DTF, and I was like,
What?
drop the factory? Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway.
Last night there was a ceremony in Westchester for that time. So, he said, "Let's do your Burger Beast concept," which I did right before the whole pandemic mess started. At Mojo Donuts, I tested the concept there for like 2.5 months. I think, Carlos, you went.
Yeah, they were
We
good.
were doing like hand breaded chicken tenders, and we were doing my burgers, and we were doing the flan shake is so good. And
Oh my God, the flan shake, Amy. We
Dude.
still talk about the flan shake.
You are speaking my language. Wait,
He put
what?
a flan in a shake, and then you drank the flan shake, and your eyes rolled back in your head.
I want that in my world.
So we use Fry Scream, the local brand Fry Scream, which we use at Crackers also. And then we put a full pozuelito. We get the flan, just kind of remove it, blend it with 3 scoops of ice cream and a splash of milk. Everyone, a splash of milk.
Oh my God!
And
Bro,
then
you still make that? I can still get that at Crackers.
No.
Dude,
why?
You broke my heart.
No, so future pop-ups are going to include like the flan shake but I had told Nadal, let's find a drive-through place But I go, I don't want to do Burger Beats. Let's do Cruz Diablo. So we had come up with this concept to do tacos, burgers, and donuts.
Nice.
And so it was called.
I like all those things.
It's on Instagram. It's Cruz Diablo Burgers, and I didn't really do very much because we took Nadal to eat at Crackers, and he liked the space too, and we figured, hey, we should do something here.
Cool.
But it's still on the back burner. We want to do a 24-hour burger, taco, donut shop, and I think it'll still happen.
The thing I like about Crackers is it's the epitome of a neighborhood restaurant because it's legit in a house in a neighborhood. And there's tons of parking, which for me as a person who's from Kendall, I really appreciate parking. I don't want to go to your little dumb fancy pants neighborhood and then not know where to put my damn car. I like that.
Sounds like we should be hanging out.
Amy, you don't valet your Ferrari? You don't do that when you go to the beach?
No, because
South
you know
Beach?
something? If you park poorly on the street in Miami Beach, the ticket that you get is cheaper than the valet. So generally speaking, I just find a place to park on the street or wherever,
Smart.
get a ticket, and save my money.
You're lucky.
Ticket
You're
by
lucky.
design.
Because the last time I tried parking on the beach, my car got towed and they gave me a ticket at the same time. And
That hurts.
I had to pay to put the car down. And I'm pretty sure the cop was following around the tow truck. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, that's a bummer.
That is terrible. That is such snake-like activity.
It is. But I did eat a cheeseburger baby, which there was a positive outcome to this.
Wait, speaking of cheeseburger baby, or speaking of cheeseburgers in general, when you order a burger, no lechuga, no tomate. What's up with that? Why are you racist against vegetables?
Why do you hate salads? Why do you hate salads, Sef?
I do not hate tomatoes, lettuce. I mean, in the last year, I had shredded lettuce on 2 burgers. I did, and I actually ate the entire burger. I didn't complain.
Personal growth.
It's not going to continue. But I'm just not a fan of it. I mean, And even when we're doing all these road trips, Marcella, my wife, and I are out doing road trips. We stop in all the old school places open from the 20s and the 30s and 40s. That's not burgers. That's not a thing for burgers. Original burgers did not have lettuce and tomato. I mean, it was like pickle, mustard, onion, or a combination of that. Not even cheese was really a thing until probably the 40s it started getting going.
Really?
You know?
I had no idea that was. I just thought that people made a sandwich. I figured
I bet you the lettuce and tomato came because moms were like, well, my kids are eating this all the time. Let me feel like I have given them some kind of a salad or some kind of a vegetable.
They snuck in some health food inside their burger.
I would probably be more inclined to believe it was wartime rationing. Probably caused that to happen. And
do you think they were out of pickles, and so they're like, let's give them some iceberg?
Yeah, I mean, when meat rations, that gave way to kind of things like a slug burger from Mississippi. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
What's in a slug burger?
Please explain.
So the United States is like made up of a lot of regional burger styles. Miami's is fritas. Like you can find fritas randomly, and they're just okay. I have found a couple of good ones outside of Miami. But in Mississippi, it's the slug burger. And the reason it's a slug, there is no slugs in it.
Thank you. Please, thank you for clearing that up to begin with.
When the war rationing started, to kind of extend the meat, they needed to have like fillers. So they would do breadcrumbs or soy or any type of thing that they could kind of fill, eggs, which almost kind of made it into a meatloaf.
A meatloaf, yeah.
And it's using which, is a revolting thought. I mean, I love meatloaf, but I mean, a meatloaf and a burger are not the same thing.
Meatloaf sandwich.
They can be on a sandwich. A meatloaf sandwich is delicious.
And
so they were called slugs because the burgers were 5 cents, and a 5-cent piece was called a slug. So that's where the name comes from. It's not because they were slugs.
I think it's funny how you went from just a guy who liked burgers to the guy that I know that knows the most about burgers, that I could ask anything about kind of history of burgers, and you go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's like a burger scholar.
I've always kind of like looked and delved deep into something I was into. So when I had the film store, I was like a maniac, obsessed with finding out about directors and here's a funny story pertaining to the Miami Herald. They did a story in the Neighbors about my store. And they sent an intern to write the story.
Oh, the horror?
Oh, the horror, yes.
Okay.
And my store was very dark, intentionally. Low lighting, the walls were dark gray, the shelving were all black. And then the rental areas were categorized, like we had horror, but then categorized by vampire films and then cannibal. So we had like a category, like if you wanted a cannibal horror film, there was, 5 or 6. And then there was a director section. And an intern, and I want to say she wasn't even 18. I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but I'm pretty sure.
Could have been a high school intern. It could, especially
she came in to do the story to interview me, and I was there, and she walked in, took a look. I'm assuming she looked at the horror section, and was so creeped out she left, and then came back with her mother.
Well, I gotta say that girl is smart, because if she felt
right.
uneasy, she needed to come back with somebody who would make her feel comfortable, because that sounds creepy anyway.
Yeah, now, I mean, our store was, I would say like a sore thumb in the middle. We had a giant pumpkin on our sign. I mean, in the middle of Westchester. I mean, people are like, "What in the world is this store?" And you know what? The main problem our store had was parking. I mean, there was just no parking in that. And that really just killed us.
The Westchester people need that, man. They require it.
Doesn't happen in Kendall. In Kendall, there's tons.
And there's also a ton of traffic on Kendall Drive. I mean, if we're going to get into Kendall,
that's where the parking happens.
It's because all the parking, everybody's leaving their parking space.
That's like the food trucks in 2011, when you go to a food truck event and there's no parking, and all the median and everything were just filled with trucks. With vehicles from people going to the events. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. I mean, police would have to show up and control the traffic. It's a crazy time for that whole food truck thing.
I want to ask you about food trucks, but before we go there, I want to mention Rene Rodriguez, our former film critic. He's at fault for your movie business going under, right?
I blame him wholeheartedly for what happened.
Okay.
Wait, what did he do? What did Renee do?
No. He didn't do anything. I did reach out to him and say, hey, you should come out, check out the store. I have one thing that I love that I was able to do. I sponsored a view, what do you want to call it? I guess a live talk of John Waters at the University of Miami. And he signed a poster, and it has his picture, and it has my logo, the Old Horror, and he signed it, thanks for helping me spread filth, which I love. I have that poster is actually up on the other side, so you wouldn't be able to see it from this side in this room.
Nice.
So you mentioned food trucks, and you became, so that's how I really became aware of you, is that you were organizing a lot of food truck rallies in Miami. So like that whole food truck movement, like you'd go out, especially like in Wynwood, there'd be some there was one called the Gastropod, Latin Burger, which who is this chef? Ingrid Hoffman, who really was a great food truck. Like it was insane that food this good was coming out of these.
It was great when Ingrid was involved. Yes.
Yes, you're correct. And then she was not involved, and then it was not great. But it was my cousin Felipe who was like, he's like, you got to try this place called Latin Burger, and I was like, that sounds weird. And the truck was black, and it had a pink bull head with horns, and I was like, this is strange. And then I ate it, and I was like, I'm a food truck guy now. This is cool. But you tell me about that, like becoming involved with that, and you organized like one of the world's biggest rallies, right?
Yeah. So my blog being about burgers, about the first 12 trucks, I think 11 of them had burgers. So it was logical that I was chasing these guys to try their food. And I realized at that point I was the only one who knew them all, because they were all just parking at random parts of the city when the city wasn't just trying to shut them down. And I thought it might be cool if I just, put together an event. And I was trying to figure out where I could do this event at. Initially, I reached out to Magic City Casino, and I realized it was just going to cost me too much to roll the dice. At that point, I had a full-time job. I was the manager at the Metro PCS store in the Gables. I thought I'd name drop that.
Wow, big money. That was a big important job, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how, if you were following my blog initially, I was eating at Coral Gables a lot. That's the reason, because that's where I was based. Every day I'd be there 5 days a week, so every day I'd figure out some place to eat that might have a burger. And around that time, they reached out to me from the Miami Herald, and they said they were doing this event called the Fall for the Arts, and if I would like to do it. It was not a paying gig, but that was okay because it was a promotional gig for me. I mean, that
sounds very Miami Herald, actually.
Yeah.
We like that. Could you do it for free?
As I came to find out, yes.
I feel like you may or may not have done several things for free for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they may have, Miami Herald might pride itself on milking me, but the reality is, look, I was kind of like, my blog was a year and a half old or something like that, and the publicity of working with the Miami Herald was a big deal for me, and a lot of stuff that people I want to work with is tied to my family. My grandfather loved the Miami Herald, so, and he had already passed, so I was like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to work with a brand that my grandfather loved. And so they said, we're doing this giant arts festival, and we would love for you to curate the food. And I was like, well, let's do food trucks. And they didn't even know what I was talking about. So I was like, well, let me corral these food trucks. I remember that day in particular. It was one of the hottest days on earth. At least it felt that way. And Gastropod was there. Latin Burger was there. Fish Box, which was like Amaroneras.
Oh, that place was great too, the Fish Box.
Dim Sum A Go-Go, which is Richard Hale's food truck at the time for Sakaya Kitchen. Sweetness Bake Shop, which is no longer around, but Chef Stephanie's now at Crybaby Creamery down in Palmetto Bay. And, the Yellow Submarine truck, which is now Rock That Burger in Kendall. And Land House was there, one of my all-time favorites, Land House. And they were there with their trailer. And I enlisted my dad and a friend of mine to help me, kind of handle the situation. And I was just not really prepared what it was going to be like to deal with all these personalities. I think that was my biggest takeaway.
Those were still burger food trucks were people who went out on their own to be independent. And now food truck rally is you had all these independent personalities that you had to get to convince to work together, that that a rising tide floats all boats. You know, that like all being together and all doing well would be good for your business. That was a hard sell.
Can you hear my cat trying to break into this room?
No.
You don't hear it's okay, good.
That's fine.
I
Cats
hear
are loud. My dog is underneath my desk right now.
Oh no,
So
I closed the door so he would come in here and attack me, and he's, I guess, decided that he needs to come in here.
Oh, your cat needs some camera time.
His name is Boris, by the way, because we named him after Boris Karloff. But that's as an aside. Yeah, so I didn't know my dad was there with me. I mean, we were putting out fires. One food truck got into an argument with the police officer where they were being let in. The police officer refused to let them into the lot. They had to go around. I'm standing in the middle of Biscayne, talking to the truck, trying to get them to come in through the opposite side of the lot. And this is the giant lot in front of the Adrian Arch Center. Then there was two trucks that were facing each other, and their awnings were hitting each other, and they were angling for space. And even the Miami Herald had to step in to kind of calm this out. And I was like, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And later on, you know, I know you mentioned I wrote a book. My original plan was to write a book about, it was going to be called My Life in the Miami Food Truck World. Because I have so many crazy stories that are unbelievable that I thought that would have made for a cooler book. And then ultimately I wrote all about the burger, America's favorite sandwich.
Yes, now you're talking my language.
And yeah, the truck thing was cool. We eventually set the Guinness World Record. And we did.
How many trucks did you rally?
We did it on 420. It's very important that I mention that. It was 62 at the time when we said. It's been since broken, but I do still have the certificate. So it was the largest parade of food trucks. They had to go in a circle for 2 miles. So they met up at the Magic City Casino, which is where ultimately ended up doing a lot of food truck events. And they went for 2 miles in a circle. So if you lived in that neighborhood, you probably saw the trucks driving through your neighborhood, which I'm sure must have been a sight. And
it was like the Gallocho parade, but with with trucks.
Yeah, and so if on YouTube there is a video with pictures from a helicopter, because this is
drone.
Pre-drone, a helicopter of photographs of the trucks going through the neighborhoods. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
That is pretty wild. So is that the relationship you've had with Magic City Casino, is that the reason why you set up your burger museum in there? Is that why you picked that location when you had it?
So I started doing the food truck event, and then I thought I needed to do a burger event, and then which eventually grew into being called Hamburger House Party, and I retired it once I wrote my book. That was the last time I did the event in 2019. I also did a couple smaller events called the Frida Showdown. And the Frida Showdown would eventually grow into the mastodon of my events, as we call it, the Croqueta Palooza.
Oh, yes. We need to talk about Croqueta Palooza.
And so with each event and successful event I did, the casinos and I's relationship became closer. So when they were meeting at our office, Marcel and I were so fancy, we had an office at one point. They were meeting at our office, and they saw all the decor. I said, hey, it might be cool if I just set up a museum over there. And they're like, okay, where do you want to do it? I was like, what? And so,
Amy, let me tell you, before you get into that, having been in Sef's office one day, imagine a Spencer Gifts, but of just burger and food memorabilia. Like you walk in and it's like a warehouse office, but there's things everywhere, posters and things lit up.
No, I actually went to the Burger Museum when it was in Magic City Casino.
No, but this was when he was in his office, just crammed in there, and it was like begging for a museum, honestly.
Yeah, and they were so cool, and they actually wanted to build out a building for me to run it out of. And wow. I was more interested right near the entrance of the casino. There was a space that was just their storage, and I said, I knew that was the original entrance to the casino when it opened, I think in the 30s or 40s. And even when I was a kid, my dad used to work for Wise Potato Chips and used to deliver. I remember as a kid walking in there to deliver stuff. So I was like, I really want this space. It's tied to the history of the building, and it makes sense. And so it was constructed right there, at the entrance. And we tried a lot of variations of it. We ended up putting a Wall's ice cream in there for a period of time, and that didn't work out. And then we did Candylandia, which is my version of a candy shop with soft serve ice cream and all old school candies. And, we gave it a a college try, and it was the 3 years. I had a blast doing it, and if I didn't do it, I would have regretted it. So we did a dinner there, the Burger Museum dinner, which we did with Phil, Brian, and Veronica Valdivia, who work at the Ariete. I don't know what the group is called, the Michael Beltran's Empire.
Yes, the Beltran Food Empire.
And they did some real cool stuff. Like I sat down and I was like, hey, I think that, it was courses, and they did a soup, like a chicken cordon bleu soup, because I love the Wendy's chicken cordon bleu sandwich from the 90s.
Aww.
And they did a croqueta because I like the Jumbo sandwich from Burger King. I didn't have it in the 70s, but it was a ham and cheese sandwich, and they did a croqueta filled with cheese. And then we got the old Sizzler cheese bread was like the side of the soup. And then we did the Bob's Big Boy Burger, the original double deck with the hamburger red relish. And I mean, they nailed it all across the board. And we had, MI beer and everything was paired with a drink and sodas. And yeah, it was blast. We did it only one time. And that's kind of how I got to doing the Burger Club that we started in December, because I wanted to doing that. I like the whole thing of just curating the courses and what everyone's trying.
I almost hate to pump up the Burger Club because it's so small, and I think it's even closed. But tell me about the Burger Club and what was the idea behind it?
How can I be down? I want to be in the Burger Club.
I know. I can't. You know what? He's asked me, and I regret not signing up. Regret not signing up sooner.
I think I can eat the Burger Club. I don't think I would get
white girl stomach.
My stomach can handle it.
Amy, I'm sorry, I got bad news for you, but we're not accepting new members. No, look, the reality is
contribute.
There's only so much because I try to keep it really intimate. So I can't just have open enrollment. I mean, it's not like I'm picking and choosing. I just do open and say, if you follow me on social media, I'm like, hey, enrollment is open if you want to join. And I really don't get a lot of people, which is interesting. I'm talking like 5 to 10 people every time I open it. And we're about 60 members. And we've done 4 meetings so far. And, this last one, which I think we've done some great food. I mean, the first meeting, we had Carolina Jacks. He flew down from Jacksonville just to do the patty melt. Went straight to Restaurant Depot, bought everything, came to the restaurant, prepped. And the next morning, I took him to have fritas at Rey de las Fritas, and then he went back home.
Oh, wow.
So how many people eat at the meetings?
Right around 50.
Okay.
And so this last one for National Burger Month, we did Crackers is now introducing our hand-breaded onion rings. So we did that. We had AJ Cinnabons. He did his new Cinnabon, which was, incredible. We had Brugal Rum there, and Gabe Urrutia was there doing cocktails for everybody.
Gabe Urrutia is well known for doing really great cocktails. He's like one of Miami's OG mixologist guys,
Yeah, and he's got another book coming out about cocktails, Miami stuff. And, cool. We had, I'm trying to think the burgers. And so every meeting we had one burger, and I said, well, wouldn't it be cool if we had 3? Well, it was going to be 4. We were going to do my burger, the Burger Beast one. But I said, I think it would be too much. So we did 3 burgers. We had Ted's Burgers. We had USBS, and we had Babe's Meat Encounter. So everyone got a slider. They were about 3 ounces each one.
Those are 3 great burgers you just mentioned. I want to
have all those burgers.
Yeah, and someone came up to me. He's like, "Look, you just saved some people a lot of driving."
It's true.
And this is not done by some of their employees. This are the owners who are there in the kitchen cooking this stuff.
So those 3. So USBS is in the Citadel, so like way over on north of Little Haiti,
up there,
Little River. Babe's Meat Encounter, which is way down in
Palmetto Bay.
And which was the other one? Oh, and Ted's. And Ted's kind of like pop-up. Like he might be in Little Havana one day. He might be, who knows.
It was fun. We're doing our next meeting. I'm not going to say the date because I don't want people trying to show up. But it's going to be at Smoke and Dough in West Hill.
I want to go to that.
And,
that's Amy's pick for a Michelin. She thinks they're going to get mentioned in Michelin. And you know what? Maybe.
I love the food and I love those people.
Those are good. Harry is a good guy. Did you know that Harry and his wife, Michelle, were both journalists who graduated from FIU's journalism school at the bottom of the economy in 2008? And that's why they went
into... And they were like, let's make empanadas better.
Yes. into his dad's business. We got to have Harry on.
Yeah,
I
we
think
do.
you would like him.
Chipotle chicken empanada, the most underrated empanada on their menu.
Really, the most underrated sandwich on their menu.
If you want to say that.
Okay. You're with me. You're with me on the sandwich on the sandwich side.
I'm with you to rile people up. Yes.
I might casually pop in to Smoking Dough on a random night when I hear that there's a burger party going on.
You're not gonna find out. You're not gonna find out.
Or maybe you just pop in every night for the next 30 days.
Are they here
How can
yet?
I get like, how can I get in on this newsletter? I'm like, there is no newsletter. You sign up for the club, and that's the only way you find out when it's happening. I mean, that's it. The invites only go out to the club members. Some of them, sometimes you can come by yourself. Sometimes I allow you to bring a +1.
Pablo, you're really missing out. Like the Carbone people are charging big money for this private membership restaurant thing.
I know, right? Yeah.
Let me tell you, I would pay more money for a Burger of the Month club than I would
to get into a sushi bar.
To be a sushi bar, in a private sushi bar where everybody's flexing their Rolex or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely would not be there.
Well, wait a minute. If you are gonna splurge in Miami, like what's the restaurant that you would go to and like gladly shell out a bunch of bucks? Like, since you are the hole in the wall king, but like what is the place where you're like, okay, we're gonna have a night out?
I don't even know that's I mean, I don't ever head to the beach. I don't head to Brickell. I really stay clear. I don't even really go to Wynwood. So when I'm in Wynwood, it's kind of odd, I went to Wynwood in December because Burger Buff, who's a guy who does pop-ups out of Jersey, was doing a pop-up along with Ted at J. Wakefield. So I got there super early because I'm sick. I have to get early places. I mean, they hadn't even set up when I got there. And I was able to find parking in the front. That should tell you how early I got there. But I don't know, like what I would consider splurging, and it's really not a money thing. It's just I just don't want to be. I think also something has to do is when I was in retail management, I had to wear a shirt and tie every day. So anything that is close to that, I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near that. I did that for a long time.
Okay, but like, would you roll up on Graciano's in Westchester?
Oh yeah, but I don't even call it Graciano's there because we go get pan de migo or just go into the market. But yeah, Graciano's, love Graciano's. And Novillo, Madroña, like some of these, and funny enough, I mentioned 2 Nicaraguan places, and my wife is Nicaraguan, and that wasn't the case. It's just those are 2 that came to mind. I guess the price points would be a little higher than normal, but nowadays everything's expensive, right? So I mean,
everything's gone up.
Where do you draw the line? I mean, I used to be like, I'm not gonna eat at that place. They have a $15 burger. I'm like, well, most burgers are probably getting up there in that price range.
You can't get food for under $20 at this point. Like it's expensive. Everything's expensive.
Well, fortunately, all our salaries are going up too, so it's fine.
100%. Yeah, and the cost of living is going down. So
yeah, no, it's good. My house is, it's very affordable. Everything is great.
Yeah, I'm renting out one of my rooms. I would to a shop.
I'm gonna sell my children, so that's that's how I'm making things.
That's right. Start a food truck. Get them cooking. Oye, before we let you go, we gotta make you play the game.
All right.
We got to make you play Kiss, Marry, Kill. And now I would in the try to pick something specific to you, but I think we have to pin you down to some Miami favorites and make you so I have a croqueta.
Okay.
Obvio.
A pastelito.
Okay, it's getting hard.
And a flan.
And a flan. That's. You would. I'm not gonna say.
I was gonna say coffee, but I know that you're probably not a big coffee guy. I'm not feeling that you're a big coffee guy.
I had coffee this morning. I'm glad you didn't say frita. Actually.
Okay, you know what? Frita de jodite.
Croqueta, pastelito, frita. A frita burger and a croqueta.
Oh, okay.
So Kiss. I probably kill the pastelito. I mean, sweets isn't really I love pastelitos, but. Of the 3,
if one had to go, the pastelitos gotta go. Okay.
Who would I marry? Who would I want a long-term relationship, a long, loving?
Who's the Marcella of your game?
I would marry a croqueta. I love croquetas. The reality is my blog should have been Croqueta Beast. And there's actually is a Croqueta Beast t-shirt that I have. It's like me holding a croqueta instead of a burger with a silhouette.
I love that.
So croquetas, you know, my love, my longtime love. I used to have when I was in elementary school at Rockaway in beautiful Westchester, Florida. When I was at Rockaway, my mom would pack me croqueta sandwiches, and I would open my little plastic lunchbox, and everyone would get slapped in the face by that confined smell. And people would be like, "What is that?" And then I would let them try, and then they tried negotiating with me for pieces.
They wanted a piece of that.
Yeah, they're like, "Here's my bologna sandwich. Get out of here with that.
Get out of here with that.
Get out of here." Yeah.
What was on your lunchbox? What was on your lunchbox as a kid? Like, what were your favorite lunchboxes? Mine was a Fall Guy. I had a metal Fall Guy lunchbox. That was
the last one I remember, which probably would have been 4th or 5th grade, I guess, was Hulk Hogan was on it.
Oh,
you know?
Nice. A wrestling. You're a wrestling guy?
Yeah. So that I didn't even know my grandfather was a wrestler till I started watching professional wrestling as a kid. Then my dad mentioned, "Oh, let me tell you about your grandfather," since I never got to meet him. That's how I found out. And I have these really great family pictures. I mean, like if I saw you in person, I could show them to you. I would never text them to anyone. I don't want them to get out there. My grandfather without his mask is important to my dad. He doesn't want those pictures out there. We have a really great picture when my dad was born, and my grandfather's dressed in his full with gear with his mask, and he's carrying my dad as a baby.
Oh, what a great picture!
Yeah.
Oh, I think you have shown me that picture.
I probably have. I've shown it to you.
Yeah, that's a great picture.
And so, getting back to that, I guess.
So yes, who are you kissing?
Kiss would be the frita, right?
You kissed the frita, yeah. We went. So you killed a pastelito.
It would be a French kiss. I want to be.
Oh, it would be a.
Making out with the sandwich.
It's the one that got away kiss.
In case the croqueta tries something on me, I'm like, I got my backup ready.
He's got his side frita.
Yeah, Frita's gonna cheat on you though.
You know what? I'm gonna steal that, a side frita. That'll be like what you can add onto your menu. I don't like. You want a side frita?
Well, Sef, thank you so much, man, for making the time, for being foolish with us and hanging out and talking all kinds of ridiculousness.
And I can't believe I haven't cursed once. I think I have.
We're proud of you.
It balances out Beltran, who was like like God. He was like the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, dude.
And I can't believe we kept this to under like an hour, because when I was on Beltran's on his podcast, I think we talked for like 2.5 hours.
Papo, I'm a professional.
Yeah.
I'm a professional. Amy and I are professionals.
Okay, I'll let him know that he's not a professional.
No, he's a professional chef. Like, you know what? He'll whip my butt in the kitchen, but
he's a podcast influencer. I'll let him know. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
I'm so professional. I'm about to hang out at Smoking Dough every night for the rest of my life until I find your party. That's
See you there.
Well, I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks in June, and it will be after that. So you can,
so now I got a window. Shouldn't have told me.
That's it. She's going to start doing her facts and figures. Oh, yeah, man. Thanks again, bro. We appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Dale.
Before you leave, look, check out. Look at my monster up there.
Oh, snap.
Who is that?
What? That's
Where's
the creature
Karloff?
from the Black Lagoon.
Who is that?
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, yes.
No, this way.
The swim. The creature from the Black Lagoon swim. Remember that?
Yeah. And that's Bela Lugosi, a colorized picture of him up there.
I love it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It's a vibe over there.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, Holmes. Take care.
Oh, I'm getting in this burger club. You'll see.
Man,
I'm about to be.
They're
coming to Kendall. I'm going to be in it.
I was sleeping on that burger club, man, because that sounds really good.
I'm your plus one. If he invites you, I'm your plus one. I will not take no for an answer.
I would eat me some burgers, man. And all those places he mentioned, I would want to eat all of those burgers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Amy, you know what I think?
I think it's a show.
I think that's a show. Good seeing you. That was a good interview. I liked hearing about him, and we'll get somebody else cool for next week.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't get our Kendall variant.
No, I know. Shh.
All right.
Peace. Deuces.